Room, Georgia. With Antonio Jones.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your humble host, Antonio Jones, and we got a great show lined up for you guys today. We got headlines, we got guests, announcements, but make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the broadcast. We always appreciate you guys for tuning in and sharing the show. All right, so we got some great guests. We're going to have Jason Frazier. He's down at the Georgia State Election Board. So I guess we're going to try and do our first ever live remote today. So hopefully, I know it'll be great on his end. I'm hoping I don't botch it up on my side of things and turn this thing into a disaster. We're going to have Colton Moore. He's running for Georgia US 14, and that's to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene as she resigned. I'm going to have Senator Clint Dixon. He's down in session. So, guys, he's already told us he got a few meetings floating around, hoping he can get in here. We've got Sheila Matthews from Able Child, going to be talking about the effects of SSRIs on children and what's happening there. And we also have someone from in South Georgia, I believe in Bibb County, David Summerall. He's going to be letting us know what occurred with these street pastors that were arrested down there, at what actually happened, what went on with their case, and where things are now. All right, so first I want to start off with an announcement. We're trying to get a little bit better at disseminating information for the grassroots and just pro-America, middle class things. So this came, shout out to Holly Tari. She has the group Gwinnett Parents for Quality Education, and they're doing some great things over there. All right, so here's the announcement. So this is from End Abortion Now, and it says, do our reps know that countless Georgia residents and hundreds of churches across our state want, number one, our preborn neighbors to be protected under the law, two, unrighteous abortion exceptions removed from the law, and number three, leaders who fear God more than man. All right, so that's going to be going on. They're asking you guys to join them at the Capitol in the South Wing on this Friday, February 18th at 1 o'clock p.m. And let's just fill the Capitol steps up. Show your support for pro-life. That's going to be at the Georgia State Capitol. It's 206 Washington Street in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, so let's see what we got next. I'm trying to stay organized here today. Okay. Some of the things that I've been seeing, the progress of the White House is, Pam Bondi's appearance on this hearing was just, it was kind of ridiculous, guys. And if we're not willing to get down to the bottom of those who were Jeffrey Epstein's clients, then I don't believe we have a country at all. If we don't stand up and protect children and women that were trafficked, I don't think we have a country. And this is not just on the federal government. It's on us as citizens. We've been just kind of relaxed. The good times have made weak men. And a lot of this we point at the boomers. But I'm speaking to everybody right now. If you're living in this time, this is myself included. Are we going to stand up and do the right thing, or are we going to be a part of this crowd just going to be white pilled? Everything is fine because President Trump is in office. Where are our pastors at? They're going to be some down at the Capitol. I say we need more. We can't sit around waiting on the glory bus to show up. That crowd that's sitting around, we're waiting on the rapture to happen. We're waiting on God to return. We're waiting on this. This has been the case since the beginning of time. If you're a real, true, blood-bought believer, he made us to stand up and fight, contend for the faith, and put his message out here. And I myself, I like to see results. And there's a story in the Bible where there was a preacher. He had to preach to a population of people for 30 or 40 years, knowing that he wasn't going to get any result. I asked how many are a part of that crowd that's not actually listening. And I'm not saying listening to me. Listening to your own conscience when it's giving you something that's in good faith. Will we stand up right now? I just don't know. It's not up to us to provide the increase. This whole life that we live is about obedience and fighting for what is right. And right now we've got, mosque and stuff going up all over the place. Sharia law is in direct conflict with what we do here in America. It's in direct conflict with the Christian faith. And I would say it's not a religion. It's a religion masquerading. A war and a battle plan masquerading as a religion. In Christianity, I was talking to Roy yesterday, and he said, you know what real equality is? It's the Bible, because it shows several examples of people coming together to worship God that have given their life to him. It doesn't matter what you look like or where you came from. He took care of that when he said, hey, no matter if you're Jew or Gentile, it doesn't matter. That's the equality. I just wonder where we are right now in our society today. I really do. We got to stop sitting around just waiting on the glory bus. That's just my whole spiel for this introduction today. If you're just going to work, church, and vacation, that's not enough. It ain't enough. When to much whom is given, much is required. And I think that all of the good times that the founders and everybody that fought and bled and died for, those good times turned a lot of us into weak men, to where we just don't even show up no more. And I'm speaking to guys too. The women, they're outdoing us on some levels. We got to start showing up. And we appreciate the work that the women are doing. But it's time that we meet their intensity and get in this fight and not worry about the results. Just continue to fight. We got to fight right now until the play clock runs out. That's from Georgia. We got to send signal up to Washington. If we feel like the president is on the wrong page. More right after this.
It's part of our tradition that everybody can be an American, but there has been a common culture. Yeah, you don't have to belong to it, but there has been that. And
what is it? What is it?
Well, okay, you want to know what it is, number one? Okay.
Is there a bond? Is there a common culture?
I think, let me tell you a story. My junior year of college, I studied in Switzerland, and I used to get really annoyed when the French-Swiss professors I had would refer constantly to les pays anglo-saxons, the Anglo-Saxon countries, meaning England, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, okay, Canada. And I said, hey, my name is Scalia, and I'm as American as anybody. Look at this face. Is this an Anglo-Saxon face? I had never been in England, but at the end of my year, I went to England, and I felt at home. There is no doubt that American culture, American common culture, which nobody has to belong to, originates with English culture. And that includes Shakespeare, it includes nursery rhymes that we all know and that we use as examples. That's our common culture. And I think the framers recognized that. Diversity's fine, but diversity does not make a nation.
This is Lisa Neisler.
Well, this is Alex Johnson.
This is Amanda.
Hey, this is Amy Kramer.
And you're here watching War Room
with Antonio Jones.
War Room. The people's voice.
keeping you informed. War Room. The People's Voice. All right, guys, we are back. And make sure you guys share this broadcast if you're looking at it. We appreciate everything that you guys do in supporting the show. All right, so in the opener, I talked about, are we just going to sit back and wait on the glory bus to happen? A lot of times I hear this in different ways, but I hear it, from pastors and churches, and we appreciate that message. We know God's going to come back. He's going to rapture everybody. But what are we going to do in the meantime? The message he preached gave to the Israelites that says, hey, I've chosen you guys out of the world. So it's going to be a lot required of you, and this life that we live is about obedience and doing his work. And he gave us dominion over the earth. So what are we waiting on to take charge? Are we just going to quit and go sit in the bleachers right now until the return of Christ? I don't think he's going to be satisfied with that. I just don't. Matter of fact, I know he wouldn't be satisfied with that. And so we need more people to step up to the plate, to get involved and to make a difference. So with having that said, I want to bring our next guest in, who is definitely have shown himself to be a fighter. I think you got yourself sideways, Colton, and that's Senator Colton Moore.
Which way did you turn? Sideways.
You froze for a second there. Okay, you back live. So we're just trying to make sure we get you in view. Okay, yeah. If you need to do it straight up and down, that's fine. Cause I know you.
How's it look now?
You still
still sideways.
You still sideways.
All right. What about this?
Yeah, let's just do it like that because we know you got to run. That's fine. Just want people to be able to see you. All right, so real quick, we know you got to run. So where you at right now, Colton?
So I'm down in Paulding County. We just left the Paulding County Republicans Forum. There's a lot of forums in this race right now. I'm pretty sure speak times at point here in that, and we're just running and gunning. We got Josh, our driver, over here, and we got a Washington Post reporter following us around while we're about to do some door knocking. I mean, the momentum is building. We got more volunteers on the ground than any other candidate now. We've got about 100 that are registered volunteers. They're out door knocking. They're waving signs at these busy intersections. I mean, we're getting outspent probably 4-1, but we're still standing strong in these polls. And it's the grassroots versus the establishment, and it's clearly on display today.
All right. So I want to jump right to this. We saw a message from a trusted White House source detailing the message in order to, quote, win the midterms. And I know it's a little bit down the road for you, but just want to get your input on it. And they put up affordable housing, health insurance, transparency, lowering drug costs, more tax cuts, and banning members of Congress from trading stocks. What are you hearing from your constituents just on the ground and everyday citizens about what they want and want the administration to focus on?
I'm hearing all the same things too, Antonio. It's just the problem is we got to get these things done. That's what's going to rally Republicans to the polls. People are sick and tired of hearing the same old talk and no action. I mean, people want to see justice. They're frustrated when a 23-year-old with a cell phone camera exposes billions of dollars worth of fraud in Minnesota and there's nobody getting arrested. We're frustrated when we see our elections stolen in Fulton County and we're not seeing anybody getting arrested. It's frustrating. I mean, what good is it to have all these laws if you're not going to enforce any of these laws? So, I mean, that's what's going to rally people to the polls and go vote. And ultimately, we got to start seeing some accomplishments.
Yeah. So on the, I know we spoke previously about Epstein, but should we prosecute these pedophiles? I mean, medium, high level, low level. I mean, what do we look like as a nation if we're not able to get this done? What do you think?
Antonio, you know how it is. I mean, when you and I go and maybe a speed camera gives us a ticket and we don't pay it, right? They're going to impound our car. But yet you can go out here and you can do the most heinous, evil crimes against children. And because you're part of the wealthy elite, you don't get prosecuted. shoot, your name doesn't even get redacted off the files. I mean, it's absolute nonsense, and that's why people are so frustrated. They're not voting because they want to see some real action.
I got it. Let me see. I had one more thing for you. Oh, so there was a couple straw polls. So we've been kind of following what's going on. So the president endorsed Clay Fuller, but you've beat him by double in the straw polls we saw, double the votes that he could garner. So you got like 80 something, and he's got 37th up in the 14th district forum that they have.
There was a straw poll last night as well, Antonio. Trump's endorsed candidate got third place, in Cobb County.
All right.
Which was supposed to be one of his strongholds.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you got next, Colton? And I know we got to let you run because you're on the road. What do you got next? What do you want to say to the people of Georgia right now?
Man, I know all the grassroots are watching your show, Antonio. I mean, this is a place where patriots are inspired. I just want to keep inspiring all those people who are on the door. They're knocking those doors. There's waving those signs. If you haven't had an opportunity to get involved in the campaign, I would encourage you to reach out to us and find your place in this campaign. I mean, we got a country to save. You know that I'm always going to fight for the people of Northwest Georgia. I'm never going to turn over my voting card to leadership or, to a president or anybody, right? I mean, obviously, we want to see the greatest president of our lifetime succeed. I'm obviously going to be pushing for President Trump's agenda to succeed. But ultimately, I mean, it's going to take all of us to get involved because the D.C. swamp is working against us in every way they can.
All right, we appreciate it. You stopping by, Colton. We know you're on the run. Tell people how to follow you and how to support your campaign and or get involved in. When is the day to vote?
So early voting has already started, and March 10th, that's the last day to vote. So there's going to be Saturday voting over the next couple Saturdays. I know we got a lot of working class folks that need to have an opportunity to vote. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he said, I just can't wait till Saturday comes around so I can go vote. You can follow me at Real Colton Moore on X. You can go to my website, coltonmoore.com, get signed up on our mailing list, and we'll get you updates along the way.
All right, we appreciate it. Be safe, man, and good luck with everything.
All right. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, no problem. All right, guys, that was former Georgia Senator Colton Moore for the 53rd District. He's running for U.S. Congressional District right now to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, hey, we're in a battle for our life. We want to make sure that President Trump has support, but also at the same time, if the president is, maybe a little off, we need people that need to stand up, and I kind of put it to people like this. I played on a lot of sports teams, and, you had what was called a locker room. You go in that locker room, you're slugging it out amongst each other, trying to get it right before you get out on that field. And if you got on the field and you was kind of not doing what you're supposed to do, you had the coaches yelling from the sideline, and you had the team members doing the same thing. That's what we need right now. We don't need yes men anywhere. We don't need yes men anywhere. I tell people all the time, even with the show, we got something wrong. Hey, shoot us an email, get on the comments. I know you guys ain't shy about speaking your mind in the comments, but that's what we need in order to have victory. So our next guest is down at the Georgia State Election Board, been dialed in on election integrity for some time now. So I want to bring him in right now, and that's Jason Frazier. Hey, Jason, thanks, man. This is our first ever what I call live remote from somewhere where the action really is. So thank you for helping War Room Georgia cut our teeth on this particular thing. So a lot of people have contributed to election integrity in Georgia. Recently, you and David Kate, y'all been hammering away at Fulton County, re-amplifying the vulnerabilities in order to put pressure back on to possibly get these machines removed. I think a lot of people want to see hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. You exposed some voter roll issues. Give us just a quick highlight on some of the things that you guys uncovered for those who didn't see the viral video.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Sounds great.
All right. Excellent. So, with David Cade, I mean, he reached out to me, I don't know, a few weeks before we drove around Fulton County. And he was just wanting to kind of change up. He's been going to campuses. He went up to Minnesota. He's been doing a lot of other podcast work. And but he wanted to get into Fulton County elections. He was given my name by a couple of folks. So I'm like, hey, here's a bunch of addresses that I've already turned into Fulton County. Almost all the ones we went to, I had already challenged in Fulton County. But Fulton County is so dirty, even though I told them about these addresses, they just left them on the voter rolls. Or maybe they took off 2 people at the UPS store and then they added 20 more. I mean, they do not change the system. They haven't blocked addresses, so they just keep adding people. So I just picked out some of my favorite ones. I mean, one of them is that abandoned home that I think everyone in America has seen with currently 19 people registered to vote. And then I picked a couple of empty lots. One of them was kind of fun. It was the jury duty parking lot. I mean, you go and you work jury duty, and all of a sudden you say, hey, you know, I like this. I want to live here. So I'm not really sure that's what happened, but somebody's registered to vote from that parking lot. But then there's MARTA stations for the local folks. That's the train station that we have in Atlanta that moves folks around. Several of those locations have people registered to vote there. Almost every UPS store, FedEx store, Pack Mail, all the self-storage centers, UPS stores, almost every one of them that I looked up had people registered to vote there. I think the worst one was the virtual mailbox that had I want to say it was 138 people registered to vote there. So a virtual mailbox is a legitimate thing. It's where if you travel a lot, maybe you have somebody get your mail. That's what it's supposed to be for. But you just can't say you live there because nobody lives at the virtual mailbox. I mean, by definition, it's virtual. So it's very important that people don't get bogged down and think, well, you know, they're still only voting for the president once. Well, all the down ballot votes may be wrong if they don't even live in Fulton County, but they live in a neighboring county, but they're voting in Fulton County. And the other thing is, you don't really move when you move from a virtual mailbox. You move from a house. So then it's easier to pick them up as somebody that has relocated. But if it's a virtual mailbox, they add them and they just don't take them off. So you move to Florida, we're not seeing because you didn't file a permanent change of address from an imaginary address. You did it from your house. So there's a lot of reasons, not to mention it's unlawful. But I think we all know laws in Fulton County are kind of voluntary.
It's just,
but
yeah, not being
go
followed.
ahead.
So I also saw some reports and people reporting about a couple of people, some people that have been summoned for jury duty, and then come to find out they had admitted that they weren't citizens. Hold on a second, Jason. So we're gonna have more from Jason Frazier, guys, right after this.
Hey guys, Rich Geary here from Geary Farms. Here at Geary Farms, we believe in raising our beef the right way, naturally and sustainably. Our cattle roam freely on nutrition-rich pastures, enjoying a diet that's as pure as the land that they graze on. We treat our animals with care and respect, ensuring they live stress-free lives. It's our commitment to quality and transparency from our farm to your table. Thanks.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to safewayhost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to safewayhost.store today. That's safewayhost.store.
Hey everybody, this is Roy Hambrick from Small Town Underground.
This is Colton Moore, and you're watching War Room with Antonio Jones.
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, it is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. We got a pretty jammed show today. We've had Colton Moore already on here. We're currently talking to Jason Frazier. We're going to have Sheila Matthews from Able Child. We're going to kind of dig into what's going on and what the effects of SSRIs are on children and what we can do to have more transparency and disclosure between the doctors and the parents, so they know that the actual issues that may be associated with taking these SSRI drugs. And also there were some street preachers that were arrested down in Bibb County, I believe in Savannah, Georgia. We're going to have David Summerall on here. He's going to kind of take everybody through what happened during the trial and where things are now. But before we get to those things, we're going to have Jason back. So Jason, before the break, well, you're down currently outside of the state election board. They're having a meeting on today, and you're there as always, trying to get things changed and get things done for the better. And we were seeing reports from, I believe, Heather, what is her name? Mullins or somebody.
Heather Mullins.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was talking about how there were two people that were summoned to jury duty, and then they admitted that they were not citizens. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think, and Heather may have posted that before they were able to get through the entire case. It became a lot more than two, and they were looking at both Fulton and DeKalb. And what had happened is several folks got on the voter rolls, and several of them filled out a voter registration application as a non-citizen, but they checked that they were not a citizen. So how that slipped through the cracks and registering them, I don't know. And they were kind of wishy-washy around that, saying, oh, clerical error, everything is a clerical error, we fixed it, we have a new system. Well, we all know that's kind of nonsense. And then they went into DeKalb, and one of the people, it sounded like they had voted 11 times, even though they were a non-citizen. And the only reason these were identified is because they were summoned to jury duty. And let's be honest, a lot of folks don't want to work jury duty, and these were non-citizens, so they checked that they were a non-citizen, and that's why it flagged it back to the voter registration department that there was a non-citizen that was registered to vote, and then they identified them. So if they would have just checked the box and said they were a citizen and then, went on the jury, they would have never been caught. So that I view as a very big problem. And it wasn't a matter of Fulton County or DeKalb just did a systematic check to make sure nobody is a non-citizen. It was literally because they were summoned to jury duty. So that raises the question, how many thousands more potentially could be on there? Because we know they refuse to give the voter rolls to the DOJ so the DOJ can check. I mean, why do you refuse unless you're doing something shady? I mean, if everything is good, you say, here you go, show the world how good I am. But they don't want to do that. So that's the big issue.
Right. It just makes me wonder too, how many people have actually just gone on and done jury duty? I mean, we don't know. There was some guy they had to take out of office that was, I don't know if it was a sitting mayor that was an illegal alien. I mean,
that was a mayor.
This is ridiculous. All right. So tell us about what you're presenting to the state election board today. And we won't hold you long, Jason, because we know you're down there trying to, know when you're going to be called in.
Right. So I've got one more case on the agenda, and this is a case I turned in 2022. I mean, I think this is 2026, which seems like a long delay, but I won't get into that too much on how the Secretary of State's been holding up cases. But the long and short of it is I finally have this case on there, and they heard it actually in December and again in January, working their way through this. But it was a list of folks that I turned into Fulton County as part of 10,000 people that I had turned into Fulton County at the time that were registered more than one time within the county. And all I did was, if it was Bob Smith and Robert Smith at the same address with the same date of birth, that sure looks like the same person. I gave Fulton County 10,000 of those. And then whenever I turned them in, I just looked at voting history. And if that same person voted in the same election under both IDs, that looks like possibly double voting. And so then I just went back and I waited until Fulton County accepted the ones, because sometimes it might be a twin where they had the same first name, a different middle name. And so you may not be 100%, but it's probably 99%. But the ones that they accepted as duplicates, I just looked at the voting history and turned that into the state as a potential duplicate voter. And in December, there was actually a guy that said, yes, I did vote twice. I had an absentee ballot, and my wife, turned it in. It was on the desk, and then I voted in person. I don't blame the guy, because if he went to the polls and they said, no, you didn't vote, you would want to vote in 2020. But the problem was that he voted under one ID absentee and voted under the other ID in person, so he doesn't even know he voted twice. But the problem is Fulton County refuses to clean the voter rolls, and the Secretary of State's office refuses to check for duplicates in a thorough manner to make sure that nobody is registered twice. It's very easy to do. I run a report on the entire state. The Secretary of State has Social Security number, full date of birth. They can be incredibly accurate and make sure nobody is ever double registered, but they just do not do it. So that's the problem here.
Got it. Tell people how to follow you, Jason.
Yeah, you can follow me at Jason Frazier USA on X, and I've actually been posting several things happening at this SEB as big cases come on, like the one that had the illegal registrants that I feel like people just need to know. It's against the narrative of we have the cleanest voter rolls in the world. There are no illegals on the voter rolls until you come to the State Board of Elections, where they hear cases all the time.
So wait, you don't agree with Gabe Sterling and Raffensperger? They did that. I got the video now. They did that press conference and they came in front and say, yeah, they got the cleanest voter rolls ever.
Absolutely. Cleanest in the world. But if that's the cleanest, we got a lot more work to do.
Wow. All right. We appreciate you stopping by, Jason, and we'll be watching your social media and everything. Shout out to you guys and the work that you guys are doing down there.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Appreciate it. Hey, bloated voter rolls. I mean, I would say if you look at this thing, it's like pattern recognition, because they also try to juice the system with cash, So in this case, if you got voters and stuff that's floating around with no home or whatever the case may be, it's easy to slide those voters into an election where maybe the person didn't even vote or something like that. It's ridiculous. It is far past time that we get this thing sorted out. So let me try to get our next guest situated here. So in case you guys haven't heard, there were some street preachers that was arrested, and this happened down in Savannah, Georgia, Bibb County, I believe. And we want to make sure that the public understands what is going on down there and how important it is to be abreast of what's happening. So let me see if I can get our next guest in here teed up. So let me see if I have the actual story here. I may not. All right, so let me get David Sumrall in here, guys, while I get these papers and things shuffled around. Okay, so David, I wanted to ask you, welcome. I know it's your first time on War Room. I had saw someone share the information. It was Amanda Prettyman, and it was regarding some street pastors being arrested down in Bibb County. But before we get to that, I want to ask your view on something here before we get to that. What are your thoughts on the Epstein files and revelations? Should we just move on as if he's was a lone actor in this? And I ask this because, the tie-in is we have preachers out on the street trying to get the word of God out here, which is paramount. It's foundational, in my view, of keeping a republic. What could this mean for our nation if we move past prosecuting people who are investigated or should be investigated behind this Epstein thing where children were abused?
Well, that's one that harm children and you're able to bring a case to court, you should do that. I mean, it's just what the right thing to do. If you got the evidence on someone, then bring it to court. Let a grand jury hear it. Let a jury hear the trial, and let the chip fall where they may.
Yeah, that's our view on it. It seems like our society is breaking down in so many ways. I'm pretty sure that might have a little bit of a reason why the pastors are down there, trying to make a difference, get the word of God out front and center in the public, and everything like that. So, all right. So what I want to do first is, can you tell us what actually happened and what led up to the arrest of the pastors?
Well, it's happened over a couple of years, really. These street preachers, I call them, have been arrested before, and what they do is they go downtown Macon, and they set up a loudspeaker, and they preach the gospel, and it's what some might call a hellfire and damnation kind of gospel. They point out sin. They talk about abortion and abortion being a sin. But of course, they talk about Jesus offering forgiveness and love and how to be saved. And so they preach the gospel there, sin and judgment and the grace of God and salvation. And they do it over a loudspeaker, so it's rather loud. And oftentimes they will have other preachers that aren't preaching. Usually they'll have some that are passing out tracts, and they'll talk to people, and they'll stop preaching if someone comes up to them and talks with them, and they'll pray with them. And so they were arrested the first time. There was a gay rights kind of festival, and they were down there nearby, and one of them was arrested there. And they tried to get them that particular preacher to plead guilty, take a little fine on the ordinance, and he refused. He said he didn't break any law, and he didn't break any law according to the noise ordinance that Macon has. Yeah. And so then I'm hearing a little music. The
music is just queuing you up for the break.
Okay.
So we got a couple of seconds left, and we'll let you run back through that. So
I don't know how much time. They've been arrested anyway for a noise ordinance. Later, that was dropped. Another time they're arrested.
Hold it right there, Pastor. Okay. So we're going to have more from David Sumrall, pastors, street preachers being arrested in Savannah right after this.
Hyundai's sprawling auto plant is about as cutting edge as it gets. More than 1,000 robots work alongside almost 1,500 humans, hoisting, stamping, and welding in robotic unison. This may look like the factory of the future, but we found the future of the future in the parts warehouse, tucked away in the back corner, getting ready for work. Meet Atlas, a 5'9", 200-pound AI-powered humanoid created by Boston Dynamics. The rise of the robots is science fiction no more.
I have to say, every time I see it, you just can't believe what my eyes are seeing. Is this the first time Atlas has been out of the lab?
This is the first time Atlas has been out of the lab doing real work.
Zach Jakowski heads Atlas Development. He has 2 mechanical engineering degrees from MIT and a mission to turn the robot into a productive worker on the factory floor. We watched as Atlas practiced sorting roof racks for the assembly line without human help.
So he's working autonomously.
Correct.
You're down here to see how Atlas works in the field.
Yep.
And you'll be showing Atlas off to your bosses at Hyundai?
Yeah.
Feel like a proud papa?
I feel like a...
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to make a contribution, the link is in the description. War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice. All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 18th, and you're live inside of War Room, Georgia. And I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Told you guys we had a pretty good show for you today. And those that watch the show, you know that the guests, they're the stars of the show. And, you know, War Room, Georgia is really about me bringing people on, letting them tell me what I need to know, and in the process, the public becomes a little bit more up to speed on what is happening. So we have a comment that I wanted to show or go over so that our guest is able to take a look at it, because we're able to get your live comments. So guys, if you comment right now, the comments wasn't populating earlier in the show, but if you make another comment or if you have questions, please make a comment on the video and it'll pop up if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube. All right, so Holly Therese, shout out to Holly. She just does such a fantastic job with her work and advocacy for school choice and implementing biblical principles into civics. She says they preach that hell is real, abortion is murder, and that we all are in need of a savior who is Jesus Christ. So thank you for that comment, Holly. So David, before the break, you were talking about what actually happened and why the pastors were arrested. So did it have to do with what was the courts or the sheriff or the police claiming? Were they saying, hey, this is due to some noise ordinance, or what was their reason?
Okay, so the third time that they did this was around the Cherry Blossom Festival. It was during the Cherry Blossom Festival time, which is a big deal in Macon. And in downtown Macon, they have food trucks there. And so they were doing a similar thing as what they had done before when they hadn't been arrested sometimes, and when they had been arrested and the charges were dropped. They were preaching that, but there were some people that complained, a shop owner that complains, some of the vendors complained, and about the noise and about the message. And so the police arrested them this time. The sheriff arrested them and charged them with disorderly conduct. Later, when it went to trial on Tuesday, or Monday rather, when it went to trial on Monday, they had dropped the disorderly conduct charge because there was no validity at all to that. That was more of a scare tactic to get them to settle. They dropped that and they changed it to the noise ordinance along with criminal trespassing, which they had originally charged them with also. The Cherry Blossom Festival claimed that because they had a permit, that they owned not only the streets, but they owned the sidewalks. And so they could not go on the sidewalks and pass out tracts. And then, of course, that they also charged them with being too loud in in their preaching. So that's what they were brought in for. They could have faced up to a couple years in jail and thousands of dollars in fines if they had been convicted and given the maximum sentence.
So if somebody gets a permit, basically, I want to go back through that. Okay. And they having a festival, and I go out and I pass out a tract, so the sidewalks are now declared belonging to whoever's got the permit. I mean,
that's what the Cherry Blossom Festival claimed, that they not only own the street where the food vendors were set up that they were permitted for, but they also own the sidewalks. And that's one of the reasons why the judge directed a not guilty verdict for that charge, because they did not have the right to tell the street preachers they could not be on the sidewalk with their signs, with passing out tracts, that they couldn't be there.
Wow, because that's the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm so glad that the judge, I believe, did the right thing. So yes. Is there ever a time that you've heard of to where, you know, maybe they're having like a LGBT pride thing to where somebody complained and people got arrested, to your knowledge?
The first time they got arrested was during the gay pride event that was in downtown Macon. And so some people complained. There was first time because of the noise ordinance. And to tell you a little about, there is no decibel level in Macon's noise ordinance. There is no permit required for amplification of sound. There is also an exemption for people that are making a public non-commercial address. And so for all those reasons, the noise ordinance charge was thrown out as well. They had the solicitor had even told the officer after he called in and said, "Can we arrest these guys?" basically. And they said, "Well, did they turn it down?" And actually, they had turned it down. When the officer said, you know, "Could you turn it down?" They turned it down. And so the solicitor said, "No, you can't charge them." But after the officer had a shop owner cuss him out in his face, and after they had complaints from the Cherry Blossom Festival, he decided to go ahead and arrest them after they had, you know, walked all into the sidewalk area and were passing out tracts with their signs on, like, you know, salvation or abortion is murder kind of signs.
Right. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play the video. I know you had sent it to me, so guys, take a look at this this video here.
For he rescued us.
Brother Christopher taking a ride for the Lord Jesus Christ here. Want him to have your phone? Tyranny.
They can have the phone.
It's a right that we have according to the ordinance in Macon. Just says a time frame.
Yeah, I understand that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you got to do it, though.
Right.
You know.
Well, we've already kind of been down this, and and that got thrown out. So I'm gonna preach, man. I'm gonna do it all time, every time. And I appreciate you though, but we're gonna do this legal.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm just asking you to cut it down.
I did turn it down a little bit, sir. But
Sir.
Come on. I've asked y'all to leave.
Are we inside the venue, sir?
Disturbing the peace.
Stupid is this? We can't talk about it. I gotta sing about it. They go record up. I didn't receive any warning. I didn't receive anything.
Yeah,
it hurts badly. Did you put it on so hard, Sergeant Smith?
Oh God, he's bleeding.
Clayton Smith, did you see the blood on my arm, sir?
All right, guys, I just wanted you to see that so that you can have in full context what actually happened, you know. And it just seems like if you're doing something that's like on a depraved level, you just don't get the same scrutiny and backlash as you would if you was a preacher, you know. So let me ask you this, Pastor Summerall, I want to make sure I get it right. And did this happen in Macon? I may need to correct the record. Okay.
It was in Macon.
Okay, this was in Macon, guys, and not Savannah. I think I said Savannah a couple of times. So just for the record, I wanted to make sure. What did this speak to, just from a biblical standpoint, about the times in which we're living in?
Well,
that might be a loaded question.
Yeah. In the end times, we know we'll face more and more opposition. And we can see this across the world. Christians have been persecuted for many things. Now, these guys would admit getting arrested and roughed up. It was a very trying experience, very taxing, hard on their families. But it's nothing like what's happening in some areas of the world, killing Christians in Africa and some Middle Eastern countries, the jailing of pastors in China, and even some of the things that are happening in the United Kingdom, where they're not allowing Christians to publicly voice their views in public. is where it could go unless people stand up. And as a Air Force chaplain, retired Air Force chaplain now, but as an Air Force chaplain, I had a responsibility of trying to preserve people's rights, the rights of the military to worship, whatever their belief was. And to me, I was not going to sit back in my own city and see Christian preachers arrested in my own city when I had been halfway around the world to preserve the rights of Christians and others, even atheists, to believe what they want to believe, and even in prison to help prisoners to be able to practice their faith.
Got it.
It just we've got to stand up here for what's right and the freedom of religion and speech in our country.
Got it. All right, so Pastor, I want to ask you to do this, and I know you just kind of did this in the last few words that you just said. And I want to make sure that I ask you specifically this question, that way we can clip it and put it out. So what would you say to pastors right now? And I know a pastor's first obligation is to feed his flock, okay? Are there any more calls that you would have for your fellow pastors right now in this time that we're living in?
Yeah, we have to stand beside each other, stand up for each other, stand up for what is right, and voice our opinion without fear. Not to fear what man can do, can only harm the body, but to fear God, and to make a public stand, and to voice that to our officials, to let them know that they must protect the rights of believers. They must protect everyone's rights, and right of religion and the right of speech has to be preserved.
Got it. Well, Pastor, we appreciate you coming by the show today. You're welcome to come on anytime. Tag us in stuff if you need to on Facebook. Inbox it to us, because we truly understand that without the gospel of Jesus Christ, God ordained three things. That was church, marriage, and the government. And if we don't have our biblical beliefs and people in position, and I know I'm literally not even preaching to the choir right now, but to the preacher, then we're just like a structure without any concrete foundation or just pieces of wood with no glue. This is what holds society together. The Bible says salt and light. So I appreciate what those preachers are down there doing, actually going out into the field right here at home. It couldn't be needed more. So thank you. Tell people how to follow you too, Pastor.
They can follow me on Facebook, look me up on the name. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me, and I'll respond to them back.
All right. Appreciate it again. Thank you for hanging out with us.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
All right. All right, guys. This just speaks to the time that we're living in, and we need people out here. We need believers out here that are letting their voice be heard, that are carrying forth the word, and that are supporting biblical causes. Because without it, we're just, I just think we just go on down. We know that the Bible tells us this is all going to go bad eventually at some point. But this whole life that we live is about our obedience. The Bible tells us without faith, it is impossible to please God. He gave us man dominion over the earth. What have we done with it? Have we been like the Israelites and just kind of said, hey, you know what? We need a king. We want something different. And there's suffering that comes along with that. So next, guys, we're going to set up. I was trying to wait to see if we could get the senator in here, but let me play this video. I think we got enough time while we're waiting to see if Clint is going to be able to log on with us. Guys, take a look at.
A few days ago, I came across this 61,000 square foot Muslim dining and shopping facility that's being developed in Kennesaw. The real estate developer is Palestinian. His brother, who's doing all the legal paperwork, is also Palestinian. I watched some videos. They jokingly call it the Gaza Strip. All these videos have hidden innuendos in them of the community, aka Muslim community. Well, the brother attacked me pretty hard. I started digging more. I came across this other facility that they are trying to rezone for in Lilburn, which is 24,400 square feet, including 104 tenant properties. It went before the rezoning board in August 2025, and what it appears it was kicked back due to some legalities. That other people said it was the neighboring community that didn't want it. I'm not really sure, but what concerned me was the fact that the LLC's name was Taqwa. If you look that up, that's Sharia-based finance. That should be concerning to everyone. If you look at what's going on in Texas right now, we have to stop this right now, and you need to show up at your board meeting. Also, let's talk about Ruwa Roman, who's running for governor. Jordan-born, raised in Georgia. She was the communications director for the Georgia chapter of the Council on American and Islamic Relations. If you don't know who that is, in 2008, they were found to be co-conspirators with the Muslim Brotherhood. And Muslim Brotherhood was found guilty of funneling money back to Hamas. So it's so bad that Florida and Texas have actually declared them a terrorist organization. Our federal government should have done that a long time ago. They don't need to be running for office, creating laws, having access to state and federal funding. We need to put our feet down right now, especially if you have wives and daughters. And what's going to be the downfall, if there is one, are these white liberal crazies who virtue signal, and anytime you raise the bullshit flag, call you racist. Well, you can call me racist all you want, but I'm going to continue to bring awareness to this very detrimental situation.
All right. So that's Tori Branham. I think she's running. Well, I know she's running for U.S. Congress. I may have the district wrong, but I believe it's District 12. But she's been putting some things out. Holly Kessler has been putting some things up that has to do with the Islamification of America. And there's somebody in the comments. And look, Islam is a quote religion that is up underneath the guise of is actually a army that's looking to take over the world. And if you don't understand that, we don't know what to tell you.
I think I found the real reason George Soros is still allowed to operate freely inside the United States while he's been kicked out or heavily restricted in Russia, Hungary, Turkey, Pakistan, Poland, the Philippines, and a half dozen other countries. The answer is simple, and it's hiding in plain sight. George Soros has probably been one of the CIA's most valuable private assets for over 40 years. He's the civilian deniable billion-dollar funding arm of American regime change operations worldwide. That's why no attorney general, no Congress, and no president has ever seriously moved to shut him down here. He's not just allowed in America, he's protected. This is why both George and Alex are so arrogant. If you've seen my video on color revolutions, you already know the script. Soros bankrolled this prototype in Serbia in 2000, refined it in Georgia in 2003, Ukraine in 2004, and the Arab Spring in 2011. The same USAID, NED, and Open Society Foundation's logos appear in every single one. The Arab Spring was the trial run for Europe's migrant crisis. In 2011, the CIA and Soros turned that playbook on Libya and Syria. Gaddafi warned the West in March of 2011 that if you take him out, millions would flood Europe from Africa. 8 months later, he was dead, and Libya was chaos, and the migrant waves began exactly as he had predicted. By 2015-2016, battle-hardened jihadists and economic migrants were streaming across the Mediterranean with iPhones, prepaid cards, and Twitter guides written in Arabic, the same social media mobilization tactics used in Kyiv and Tahrir Square. Wayne Madsen called it straight in 2015. This was a deliberate Soros CIA social engineering operation to fracture Europe from within. Same playbook, new target, and now we have America, 2020 to present. Remember the 2020 summer riots? Soros Open Societies Foundations gave at least $33 million to the groups that organized and sustained them. How about the Southern Border Caravans? Soros-backed NGOs provided the lawyers, the maps, and the logistics. How about defund the police and DAs in every major city? Soros money elected them. They're running the color revolution playbook on us now. Only this time, the
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, guys. It is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. And before the break, we were talking about the Islamification of America. And somebody in the comments pointed out, and I appreciate it. I couldn't recall it from my mind, but Islam is not a religion. And this was Anna Kaiserman. Let me see if I can get this pop up on the screen. It may or may not. But what she says is Islam is not a religion. It is a political ideology. And that's exactly what it is. It's not a religion. Go and read what some of the things say in their writings and the violence and everything towards others and how they should be wiped off of the map. Let's look at some of the actions that have occurred around the world where they've beheaded people in the name of their religion. This is not a religion. It's a political ideology. And that's what people must wake up to. You know, and guys down here in the opposition, and, you know, we really don't know, but that's just the facts about what it is. And we got to deal with it. You know, there is a center that they're trying to build, as Tori said. That's why I played her video. That they're trying to put, that's like the one in Texas. They're trying to put one in Kennesaw. And there's word on the street they're also trying to push one forward in Lilburn. These are the roots of the sprouts that are going to spring up across this nation. And we have to do something to step in and stop it. And it has nothing to do with the practice of free religion at all. This is not a religion. And at the point to where a quote religion crosses the lines of the Constitution, which protects the freedom and the rights and the safety of Americans, at that point, you're not a religion. You're an ideology. You're in a form of danger to the American people. And we can't sit here. And that Christopher Lee Raley just said, he's right. Sharia law is here. It's here. And shout out to Greg Dolezal. And I'm pretty sure others have supported this legislation. He's trying to get a bill passed down here in the Georgia legislature. It's SB 486. SB 486 that says that the Georgia courts must only operate under Georgia law. Okay? But this is going to go beyond, words, because we can't get people to enforce law right now. So that means we're going to have to get involved around here. We're going to have to and keep our eyes on everything that's going on. And I didn't get to go through headlines, but one of them was, and this was also reported by Holly Kessler, H.M. Kessler on X. A development like the Epic Center in Texas is on the horizon to come to Georgia. This development is reportedly being proposed in Marietta and Lilburn. And I reached out to some people in some different areas, and they didn't know completely about what was going on as far as Lilburn, Georgia, and was saying maybe it's in a part that's annexed or maybe unincorporated. But either way, we got to find out, and we're going to submit this person because I think this particular individual is definitely in a place where something can be done about it. All right, so we're trying to kill a little bit of time to see if we can get the senator to come on here. Let me see where he is with things, because I had some questions to ask him about it. And maybe he'll pop on, but my luck is he'll end up popping in. What do you guys have to say about Sharia law? Let's take a few minutes while we try and wait on Clint Dixon to get in here. What are you guys thinking? Because I see some comments going back and forth. Okay, there's Clint. So let me get Clint set up, and I should have been doing this while we were waiting on him to get in here. Let me get the screen set up, and that way I can do a formal introduction and we can get to a few of the questions. So, guys, we got Senator Clint Dixon, state senator from Georgia. I'm getting ready to pull him in. So if you have a couple of questions for Clint, he doesn't have a lot of time today. And towards the end of his segment, I'll try to see how, maybe if you have more questions for Clint, where you can reach out to him, email him, or whatever the case may be, or what have you. And then we'll try to set up to have him back on, maybe in a little bit of a longer form. And that way we can just, take questions and kind of really go through some of the things that he's working on or what have you. So, but without any further ado, I want to bring on a sitting Georgia state senator, and that's Clint Dixon. So this is your first hit on War Room, Clint. We saw you out a couple of times at a couple of events, and you have, interviewed with us, in short form there, and this will be another situation like that. So my reason of bringing you on today is I wanted you to come on, talk about some of the things that you'll be working on this session, some things, maybe some bills we need to work against, and maybe stand in opposition. So, but before we get to the bills, I wanted to ask a couple of other questions. And maybe this might have something to do with the bills that are going on down there. So what are your thoughts on the children walking out of school, protesting during school against ICE agents, or even just the idea of ICE? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I tell you, that's unfortunate, and unfortunately, in my opinion, that starts with the parents and parenting. But it also, falls back on, those school officials as well. Hopefully that, they're, managing that school as they should and disciplining those kids as they should, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, definitely sad day in America to see that.
Yeah. And it kind of, in my view, goes against the whole point. It's like we teach kids to have an education so that they'll be able to be productive citizens of the country on their own. And then for some school officials to support this on some levels, even in their private time, it's kind of like counterintuitive, because if we're going to have, okay, first of all, this is a publicly funded education, okay? Where I grew up in public education. I'm not completely opposed to public education. Some people may just be in a position and can't not afford to do private school or have the time to homeschool for whatever reason, two parents working. So how can we have kids out on the street protesting to have illegals in the country, on the system, taking advantage of the same system that is supporting them financially, for them to get an education?
Yeah, it's mind blowing to me. I mean, these cities that, these sanctuary cities that are not cooperating with ICE, and then trying to blame ICE and the federal government for, lawlessness and people getting arrested and a few people losing their lives. And unfortunately, it's not the law enforcement. They're doing their job. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's these, left wing, liberals, out there protesting and getting in the way of them doing their job. And sometimes they're turning violent on them. Yeah.
All right. So, Senator, I want to ask you a couple of other questions, then we'll get to the bills. How do we not, we see like Sharia law and, the Islamification of America. We're finding out that there are some developments that are trying to come to Marietta, possibly Kennesaw, on somewhere on the edge of Lilburn, to where they have these things that's kind of like the Epic Center in Texas. Texas has moved forward to actually ban Sharia law. But I wanted to ask, how do we not suppress some of the comments in the comment section? This might have to do with this guy that's unhinged in there. How do we not suppress the rights of religion, but deal with and different doctrines that may have to do with violence against others? Because we don't want to suppress people's right to worship or whatever the case may be. It can get kind of sticky. Do you have any thoughts on that and banning like care organizations and things that's trying to launch an assault against Americans and other religious organizations?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's unfortunate, and we've seen and the rise of anti-Semitism, across this country, over the past few years. And, and as far as, the Islamic religion, I mean, unfortunately, if you're teaching hate and some of the things that are taught, it's taught to those kids, at a very young age, and they're brought up in that way of life, unfortunately. And, I recently took a trip over to Israel, the end of October, went over there with CAM. It's a group that's fighting anti-Semitism. They're based out of America. And there was 10 states. They had 2 legislators from each state. Myself and Houston Gaines went for Georgia and went over there and talking to, we met with several of their upper leadership in their military, also met, with folks in their legislature, met with their president, and what I kept hearing from them over and over again was, their long-term fear of loss of support from the United States. And just, because of the rhetoric and what they see, especially from the left, in the direction that our country was going in for the 4 years under Biden. We were heading, like what many of the European countries were heading. I just thank God that, and I do mean that, thank God that President Trump got reelected. Our country is now heading in the right direction. But I tell you, over there, like I said, their fear of loss of our support, but then also meeting with their military leaders and, looking at all of the radical Islamic hate groups. And there were 5 that they had kind of on their top of their list. And we're mentioned above them as far as, death to Israel is death to America first. Luckily for us, we do have an ocean that protects us, or we would see some of that fighting on our own shores. And we're blessed that we've never seen it, because I tell you, going down the road, and we had a bus that we traveled on, we were going across the country, and you'd come to a bus stop that you would see in America, and you'd have, seats and a little covering. Well, there's a 2.5 foot concrete, reinforced concrete bunker just sitting right next to it that they would run into if the missile alarms go off. Just a totally different way of life. The radical Islams, I mean, they're on their doorstep. I mean, they live amongst them. We went later on in the trip, we went down on the Gaza border. We were about a half mile from it, and we were in a little community, a kibbutz, that had gotten attacked. And when we were over there, it was about a week and a half after the ceasefire had been signed. And so there was a 70-year-old guy had actually come back to his house for the first time. He'd been back for a day, and he kind of gave us a tour around. And he knew all the families, so he kept taking us to house after house. And one family he took us to, and it was a husband with 3 kids. And Iran, they shot a bunch of rockets over when that attack happened in October, and then all of the ground folks started coming over, and their plan was to come in from the Gaza Strip and then make it to Tel Aviv. Well, these folks were on the front line, and what he talked about was he ran into his house, and he had a front door and one window in the back, and he held the window in the back closed. He had a steel plate on it, and his son put the refrigerator in front of the door, and it was 12 hours of just, they would be a wave of them come, 30 minutes or an hour later, another wave would come. And this poor family, the husband was shot, the wife was abused, what I'll say, and then killed in front of her kids, and then her kids were doused with gasoline and lit on fire to save ammunition. Just horrific scenes that I saw over there. And, even some of the young folks that I talked to that were in their 20s and 30s that said that they were, lenient to the Palestinians because there've been so many years of peace, and they were day laborers coming over working for them. But they said that what they saw that day was pure evil, and it was young people along with adults, that were attacking them.
Yeah, I think it's here in America, and it's just a matter of time. Maybe we have you come back to kind of dig into, what we do to fortify, our own country as well at the same time. Because, these centers and things popping up, and I'm sure America's at the top of that list of who they want to destroy, for many reasons, but definitely the historic support for the Israeli people. They definitely want to knock that out. So I wanted to ask you too, what are some bills that a couple of bills that you're working on real quick in the next couple of minutes that we have together?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. Top of mind here in Georgia, with the Senate Republican caucus is affordability. That is on every Georgian's mind, on every American's mind. With the last 4 years of the Biden administration and the outrageous inflation, everything is, so many families that were able to save and put money away for, a rainy day, unfortunately are now living paycheck to paycheck. So that is certainly front and center on our mind. The Senate has already passed out our income tax relief bill that would take the Georgia state income tax to zero by 2032. But that does come with the elimination of or sunsets on most of all of the tax credits here in the state, but it would not increase the sales tax, doing away with all the tax credits. That would actually help make up that gap. There's still some bit of a gap that would have to be made, but Tillery is actually adjusting and working on that. But his goal is not to have to raise any type of sales tax to get that income tax to zero. And then we've also, we got the House's measure, which is not crossed over to us yet, dealing with your homestead exemption. It would take that to zero for all Georgians. And then there's also a measure that's in the budget, about $850 million of the reserve that would go to help. That would go to local municipalities to help make that happen this year if that bill does pass. So Georgians would see relief this year. It would not be next year. So excited to see that measure and see it move through the House. Those are two big affordability measures, and there are many more. One bill that I actually passed off the Senate floor today that's heading over to the House, it actually has to do with Trump's big, beautiful bill, and it's a federal tax credit dealing with school scholarships. So if families, if they want to take their child out of public school and put them in a Christian school or put them in a charter school or a private school, whatever their choice may be, this program, like I said, it's $0 coming from the state budget. It's all federal dollars. Governor Kemp, he opted us into the program. My bill would just codify it because, we'll have a new governor next year and wouldn't have to have the governor renewing it year after year. This would codify it and keep it in law. And essentially what it does is a family could donate up to $3,400 to one of these scholarship programs and get a dollar for dollar tax credit back, federal tax credit. And then these dollars would then go to these scholarships that would be granted to students and could be used for tuition, transportation, books, supplies, anything of that nature.
Got it. All right, a couple more questions, and we'll let you run about some current things. So would you support hand-counted paper ballot measure? There may be some legislation that's available for that. And what are your thoughts on the PFAS situation for the people? I believe up in Northwest Georgia, we had somebody come on here, and I guess there are for some type of levels of PFAS indemnification or getting them out of the liability. And there's a lot of people from that area who are suffering from that chemical high levels in their body. So those two questions, hand-counted paper pallets and PFAS. And then we'll set up to have you back on another time. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would love to come on anytime. I've got several other pieces of legislation I'd love to chat with you about and get your feedback on as well. But yes, I mean, as far as the PFAS and helping those folks in Northwest Georgia, support any measure that the General Assembly needs to put forth to help those folks. And what was the other question you had?
The other questions was, would you support hand-counted paper ballots just so we can stop going back and forth about these machines and this, then other than put everybody in the room so the elections can not be such a cumbersome process. And I know it's not as simple as snapping a finger and say, hey, we got all hand paper ballots tomorrow. But it just seems like this machine stuff just complicates things, and it's costing the state a ton of money to keep up with it and litigating and all this other stuff. So would you support hand-counted paper ballots if a good, meaningful piece of legislation presented itself?
Yeah, I tell you, the paper ballots and, the hand marked, I mean, yes, it would take, more time, but at the end of the day, we've got to have confidence in our elections. We've got to have secure elections, or we'll lose America. So yes, I would be supportive of that legislation.
I appreciate it, Clint. Tell people how to follow you, and I'll message you later on in the next couple of days, and we'll set up to just have you on. I know you're running, a lot to, in session, and I don't know if it need to be later in the day or whatever to be able to accommodate you. And that way we can just let you present more bills, take more questions, and do a little bit more back and forth. Tell people how to follow you and or get in touch with you if they have further questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes, you can go to my website. It's voteclintdixon.com. My cell phone's on there. My personal email's on there. I work for you, so please reach out to me. In session, text messages are probably best because the volume of calls we get during this time. But please go to my website, sign up for my email blast, and then also take my cell phone number and reach out and let me know, good, bad, or indifferent, on what you think we're doing down here, because it's important that our constituents are letting us know how we're doing down here, because things get moving fast and they're busy. So please reach out to us.
All right. Well, appreciate it, Clinton. We'll set a time up to have you back on, man. Get back to
Absolutely.
work down there.
I'll do it. And thank you so much for what you do. Please keep up the hard work that you're doing and what you're doing for our community.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Clint. We'll see you.
Yes, sir. Take care. Thank you.
All right, guys. That was Clint Dixon. Hey, he put his information out there. Reach out to him. He says he's going to respond to you guys. And if he doesn't, let us know. And then we'll come on the show. We'll talk about it. Hey, the guy said he would respond and he didn't respond. So we're now going to set up to have Sheila Matthews on now, if I can get the screens and everything set up for her to come on. She's doing some great, amazing work for the kids and just for the country overall. I saw her on some other podcasts, and I was like, wow, this is the work that she's doing with her organization is very, very needed. But before I bring her on, I want to play a video, and then we'll introduce her and get her on here. Guys, take a look at
the evidence. Will show a teenager who is struggling mentally, a teenager who is deceptive, a teenager who hid his true intentions from everyone, from his family, from his counselor, from his siblings, from DFACS, from law enforcement, and most especially from his father. The evidence will show a father who did not ignore his child. He did not abandon his child. He did not turn his back on his child. The evidence will show between Colin Gray and Colt Gray daily contact, daily effort, and active steps by Colin Gray to seek mental health intervention for his son through the school. The evidence will show that the most important facts, the planning of this shooting, the concealment of this shooting, and the timeline of this shooting were hidden by Colt Gray from his father. That's the difference between tragedy and criminal liability. And this case is about whether the state can prove criminal liability by showing that Colin Gray knew that Colt was going to do this, knew that Colt was going to harm someone else.
All right, guys, what you just saw was some footage, and that source was Court TV. They're down here, or they're here in Georgia, covering the court case for the father, I believe, which is Colin Gray. And what reportedly happened was, I believe he brought a semi-automatic weapon for his son, and is now, and his son went into Barrow High School, one of these high schools, and shot up a bunch of people. And I believe that he's claiming now that he didn't have any idea of what was going on with his son. And I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the evidence or whatever, so I'm not going to have court and say which way this thing swings. But when I saw this, and then I thought about, my next guest and the work that she's doing about the SSRI drugs and how they affect children and some things that need to be done, I was like, the work that she's doing is very significant, because we've saw a rise in violence amongst just the population in general, but definitely with our kids and our youth, and with all the transgenderism and all of this stuff that's going on, and social media pressure has really changed society in so many ways. So my next guest is a co-founder of AbleChild.org, a national nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring that parents and children are fully informed about the risks associated with psychiatric labeling and drugging in the public school system. So let me pull her on. We got a few minutes, couple minutes before the break. So Sheila, welcome to War Room, Georgia. I saw you on Bannon's War Room, and I tell you, I mean, you're just, everything that you're doing right now is just on fire to try to get us in a better situation in society and get people informed.
Well, thank you so much for having Able Child on. We are working around the nation to really inform parents of the dangers of these psychiatric drugs. And in this particular case in Georgia, Able Child wrote, I believe we wrote 2 articles on it. Now, this young boy he's 14. And I could give you all the statistics of how many children are on psychiatric drugs between 0 and 17. And I say 0 because there's quite a number of infants that are being placed on these cocktails of psychiatric drugs. But rather than give you a bunch of statistics, I will tell you that the school was involved with this 14-year-old boy, Colts. And he, as you heard his lawyer said, well, he deceived the counselors. Well, I would say we need to see his records, his school records, before this father gets put away and, we shift the blame on the parents. They could be involved because a lot of parents are on these psychiatric drugs, like the case in Michigan, where those parents were also under the care of the mental health system. In this particular school, I believe our article showed that there was actually, if you go to that school and you go on the website, you can actually, they have like a link to a pharmacy. So it's getting to the point where the mental health system and psychiatry is operating within our school. And it's a captive audience, and this young kid, until we get his mental health records released, I don't personally, I can tell you the evidence would be kind of hard to look at to blame this father if we don't know what psych drug the boy was on.
All right, hold on a second, Sheila, we'll hold you through our break. Wow. Guys, so we're talking with Sheila Matthews from Able Child, and we need to figure out what's going on with these SSRI drugs in our youth. Back after this.
I would love to bring this to Ratburger office.
Room number 214, right around the corner.
Yeah, all he did is bad decision, bad word, Greek people's vote, and now he wants to run for governor. Who wants him? Can you imagine what he's gonna do to this country?
There was a guy here some time back that showed up with a tabulator tape, and on the tabulator tape, it said that the people in the precincts were swearing to a Canadian law on the tabulator tapes, and he's standing right here. And he came from Hall County.
Not one legislator knew that we were going through a Canadian authority on every tabulator tape for 4 years, and then you showed Raffensperger and explained it to him, and he goes, "Oh, we'll have to check into that." You can't make this stuff up.
What did Gabriel Sterling say?
Talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
You mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
This is Lisa Neisler.
Well, this is Alex Johnson.
This is Amanda.
Hey, this is Amy Kramer.
And you're here watching War Room
with Antonio Jones.
War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Told you guys we had a pretty awesome show planned for you today. Always just some fantastic guests. And you guys are the greatest, especially when you share the broadcast for us, because we can't do this without you. Completely independently funded, I guess, by myself and people that give a few donations every now and again. But we appreciate what you guys do to help us out. So our guest right now is Sheila Matthews, and she's a co-founder of Able Child. And as you guys know, that, you know, we've got a problem here in our country, and a lot of it mental health is tied to the administering of a lot of these drugs that's coming through by way of the medical pharmaceutical industrial complex. And I believe that our kids are targeted. Before the break, she was talking about how, you know, with this case up here in Georgia, where the father, Colin Gray, bought his son a semi-automatic rifle, and then Colt Gray is the son's name, and he went to school and shot up a bunch of people that, you know, they had no idea, I guess, what was going on. And then come to find out, the counselors, you know, I guess everybody's playing possum about knowing what went on here. And she was telling me before the break that the school has like a pharmacy access or something like that.
Right. If you look on the website of that particular school, there is a link where you can reach a pharmacy. So I remember doing that when I wrote the story, because we were trying to determine what was the level of drugging in the area. You know, we try to break it down with statistics. And so this particular case is very intriguing because the mother was incarcerated, I believe, and called to warn the school. So we know that the state of Georgia was involved with this family. So the fact that the state of Georgia is bringing charges against the father is very interesting, because we need to see their records. We need to see what drugs, if any, he was on, and who were surrounding this child of 14 besides the father, because it was a broken family. We know that the mother was not at home, and the state was already involved in her life. And so, you know, this is indicative of what we're dealing with around the country, because if you look at even the assassination attempt of President Trump in Butler, you know, the day of that shooting, the father handed you know, the Matthew Crooks, the alleged shooter, a weapon in the morning. Now, so it's not about the guns, you know, and that's often how they legislate in the aftermath of this, as well as giving so much more money to mental health, so they expand their reach. It is really about the facts within the mental health records. Like, we still don't have Matthew Crooks' mental health records. We still don't have, that's pretty much the common thread here. The legislators go after the Second Amendment and guns, and then they expand the authority of the counselor, that this guy is, this attorney is saying, well, he fooled the counselor. Well, how do we know that? Can we see the records?
Wow. That is interesting, because these programs, the school is ran by like the state board or whatever the case may be. And then the state is having to turn around and bring action against the state? Is that some kind of a loop, or?
Well, the parents of the victims should really sue the state of Georgia, right? Because that child was under their supervision as well as the fathers, because they had a hand in the counseling of him. And so instead, the state is going to say, well, we're going to hold the father accountable because of the weapon. And, I don't know the aspects of the rules with your particular, gun, situation in Georgia, but I could tell you that the trigger is usually the psychiatric drugs that these kids are on. Able Child just finished a story in Rhode Island where, a father who is clearly on a cocktail of psychiatric drugs and transitioned. He's on hormones. He's on, I'm sure, pain meds. I'm sure of these things just based on what it takes to transition. So it's the entire psychiatric industry that we should hold accountable. But what happens often is they disappear. And the state blocks any accountability, like in Parkland shooting. Nicholas Cruz was drugged by the state, by a behavioral health vendor of the state, and he was on a cocktail of psychiatric drugs for multiple years, and they were shielded from liability. And we as citizens should care about this, because our liberties then start shrinking when they do something they're doing now. They're going after the father. And then after that shooting that occurred with Colts in 2024, you passed HB 268, the School Safety Act. And that was directly in response to this particular mass killing. And what this bill did is it squeezed parents' rights. Okay, so now they want to track your kids more, because they're saying, well, we need to find out, these warning signs. Well, the psychiatric, the school counselor, the Association of School Psychology that's in the school knew about Colt. They knew about this boy.
So why won't they talk about that? It would be the question. The administering of drugs to these kids and the effects. The counselor, like you said, the counselor is sitting right there. There obviously a doctor has to prescribe these things. So there's like at least 3 layers there. You got the parent, you got the doctor, and in this case, we got the counselor. Why are they not putting forward? And I did a Google search, before, earlier, and I was like, well, what are some of the adverse effects to SSRIs? The bad stuff is buried like way down. So anybody, if you watching this, if you put that in Google, it's going to show you, because I printed some, this is what it's going to tell you, like at the top of the line: upset stomach, sweating, headache, sleepiness or trouble sleeping, or dry mouth, or nervousness and shakiness. Unless you click and like go down in the paragraph to find it, which the average person doesn't. I mean, that's no fault of Google, but we know how this works. When people like look something up, you're not going to get them to click to like the second page and all of this other stuff. So it seems to kind of be buried down in these articles. And I just wonder why this is, if there's so big of a negative impact on the children.
Well, the black box suicide warning. Suicide is murdering of oneself, right? So it's violence, okay? Then you have agitation, and you have homicide ideation. These are what these drugs cause, and a lot of them are not tested on children. They're given off-label. They've never been tested. So it's like our children are like guinea pigs out there. And the state of Georgia and the United States of America, and the federal and state, are pushing money into this mental health system. And after each mass killing. And basically, it's more and more mental health, more and more tracking of your children, and more drugging. So the fact is that we're losing our liberties, and our children are dying. Our children are killing other people, and they're killing themselves. And the state of Georgia doesn't want to expose this because they have these providers, especially like in this family situation, because I believe the mother was incarcerated. So I'm sure she's on psych drugs. I mean, if you look at the prison population, I mean, they're drugging everybody, Antonio. And the problem is there's like the bill we're proposing in Georgia is like a safe exit plan. And that's to give parents informed consent to get off of these psychiatric drugs, or ask the physician should say, how long are you going to be on these drugs? We think you're going to be on these drugs for X amount of time. They're not even saying that. We're on an elevator, okay? And there's one button, and it's drugging. And there's no stop. We cannot stop, to get off at any floor. There's just no exit plan.
So I had gave you a few people, maybe a person. Have you been able to get any response yet out of any Georgia legislators?
I have not, which is really just so disappointing. I have some people on the ground in Georgia that are knocking on senators' doors. They're in session, it appears, but they don't feel as though this is a priority. All they are doing is listening to these providers. They're protecting this counselor for this 14-year-old boy that's father is now, being charged with murder. We'd like to see his records. And so they're just going to push more and more mental health. And then, so no, I have had no luck getting any kind of bill passed in Georgia or introduced. I mean, at least sponsor a bill for us, so we can be heard on the floor.
Have you guys, I'm sure you got a list of people that you've already talked to, and that way we're not crossing it, because we'd like to reach out to them. That's part of what we do, or what we want to do on the show. We don't want to get into like a publicly doxing, but we want to ask the question of why, with something so reasonable that would protect children and their safety. We don't need another metal detector. We need to deal with the problem at the root and really find out what's going here. And in your case, your legislation is making sure that they have proper disclosure and an exit plan associated with these medications that doctors are giving them, and also being able to get into the records of these situations so that you can have so you can find out what actually occurred on a per case basis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this bill doesn't say we're banning the drugs. What this bill does is it gives written informed consent to parents so they see the side effects. You were talking about how they're buried at the bottom of Google. So it would just be more visible to the parent. And a lot of parents that I deal with throughout the country have no idea that it's an increased risk of suicide and homicidal thoughts, and I get more calls of parents trying to get their kids off these drugs. And I have to say, it's very, very dangerous to just stop these drugs. You can't actually. I mean, it can induce a psychosis. So you have to have the state be so concerned with this that they take our bill up, because you can't just force a child to get on an ADHD drug with a subjective checklist and then stay on this drug the rest of their lives. It's just not fair. It's inhumane to do this to children, and then they're captive. They're in the school system, and the parents don't know that that their children's behavior is not a disease. It's not something that they have to medicate. It's a choice that you make, and you should have different choices.
Right. We couldn't agree with that more. So
Yeah.
I was reading on your website, and I wanted to know what activated you and made you get involved to actually start doing what you do as far as an able child.
Well, I have two sons, and my older son at the time was 7, and I was in school, and they gave me information that my son had ADHD, and they never told me that it wasn't real, that it was subjective. And then they handed me all this information on drugs, and they kind of made me feel that was my only choice. And I was getting ready for my team meeting with the school, and I turned on C-SPAN, and I happened to see a mother who had put her son on Paxil, and she didn't recognize him, and he attacked her physically at the age of 7. And our boys were the same age. And I called Congress, and I got her number, and we got to talking, and she saved me. Another mother saved me and my son from going the medication route, the drug route. And so we decided that day to join forces and warn other mothers. And that's really what we do. We're not funded by the government at all. And what we do is we come on to shows like yours, and we talk about informed consent. And we have really kind of gotten into the terrible situation of reporting on these mass killings and trying to educate the gun industry to defend themselves. We worked on Sandy Hook, and they put a gun manufacturer out of business because they blamed the guns. And so we were trying to tell them as moms, we understand it's not the guns, it's these drugs. And so we've been doing this. We're going to be celebrating 25 years. We have a big event coming up in West Palm Beach, and people can find out about it on our website. But we've been doing this, volunteers, fathers have helped us, mothers have helped us. They've told us stories about the death of their children. I mean, children have hung themselves. And, we have a petition online, and you could even read through some of those parents that have lost their kids to suicide, and they were never told that these drugs would cause such a thing. So we're losing human life here, and there's nothing more tragic as these people in Georgia from the Colt shooting from this young 14-year-old boy. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. His life is gone. And then all the children that died as a result of that action. But for the state of Georgia to not take any responsibility themselves in what occurred here, and to shield the drug companies and shield the psychiatrists we're just going to continue down this same road, and it's heartbreaking for me, but it has become, I've met some really wonderful people, and we've been doing it for 25 years and unfunded, and we watch all this money going to more psychiatrists and more school counselors, and we have less teachers. We have, it's really becoming like a mental institution.
Yes, becoming a mental institution. Wow. So when did government start getting involved in wanting to have a link to go in for kids to get drugs for kids? I mean, this is like bizarro land. You know what I mean? That's supposed to be between the doctor, and here the state is. They need to take responsibility, because this is the public education and the components of it that they've allowed on some level. So there should be some responsibility and some accountability for the state of Georgia. So I'm going to say to the listeners right now, the call to action is to get behind organizations like Able Child and start picking up the phone and emailing these guys and calling them, and maybe showing up, to the Capitol and asking them questions. Why in the world are we allowing public schools to have links to drugs and all this other stuff. And like this situation out with Colt Gray, when the counselor knew what was going on here and said nothing about it, you know, or did anything to stop it. You know, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. We pay thousands and thousands and really hundreds of millions of dollars just across across the country for public education. And what do we get in return? Promotion of LGBTQ, diversity, equity, inclusion, ICE protests. I mean, you name it, and substandard math and reading scores to go along with it. You know, by the way, here's a link you can click on if your kids want to get drugs or whatever, because maybe they're going through something, and maybe everything doesn't require a drug. Maybe it's some other type of therapy. But I see a huge push. I went to a lot of meetings in the last couple of years in Gwinnett County up here, you know, biggest school system in Georgia. And there are people that are on the ground that do some fantastic work with keeping up with what's going on. But I'm telling you, every other word was counselor, in the mental health crisis and counselor. And it just made me sick, because I knew the next thing was to try and drug these children up. Mm-hmm. And it just, and like you said, once you get on a substance like a narcotic or whatever the case may be, or something that was prescribed, you can't just snatch the person off of it. You know, no. You can't snatch them off of it. There is a transitional period that needs to happen so that this can be done responsibly, if they even need the drug at all. Mm-hmm. But definitely those who are on these medications, there needs to be an exit plan. And I believe that's why the work that you're doing is very important, and that people in the state of Georgia support this and try to get this done. So I'm going to be asking these legislators. I think I forgot to ask Clint on the time, but I'm going to have him back for a long form, and people that come through here, I'm going to put this issue right in front of them, in front of the audience, and talk about it. And when to bring up your organization and ask them, hey, maybe somebody has reached out to you, and to date, you hadn't responded with a yes, that we will join you. The people of Georgia think this is the responsible thing to do in the crisis that we're in right now.
Well, it's very interesting, because the senators and the congressmen say, when we talk about an exit plan and we talk about the safety of the drugs, they tell us that they're not doctors and they don't want to interfere in the practice of medicine. But isn't that what they're doing when they pass these massive behavioral health, mental health spending bills, and they tell us that we have to get these checklists on our kids and they have to be in our schools? So they've taken a side. It just is not our side. It's not the consumer side. It's not the parent's side. And there is no informed consent. This is the government forcing these drugs down our children's throats, because they're a captive audience. They're, in the school system. So this, you asked a good question. Why is the government involved in this? They are involved, and they've been involved since 1970, when it was first introduced, the school psychologists into the school system. And we have a monopoly. They have a monopoly, and they're the distribution centers of these, like I received this false information that it's some sort of illness. It's not, it's gifted. And parents should know this, that the ADHD checklist is very, very similar, if not identical, to the gifted child. Okay. And so this to me is fraud. And Able Child has never been sued for saying that it is fraud. They have taken the identity of our gifted and creative children, and they have relabeled them and marketed this disorder on them. And it is 100% fraud, and you can look at the money flow. Our organization was named after President Eisenhower because he recognized the gifted and creative child. We're drugging our children to death, Antonio. So if there's anything that you could do to talk to your senators, I work with both Democrats and Republicans, and I am happy to explain the bill to them. We have people on the ground. Actually, today they're meeting, as this trial is going on, they're meeting with our bill. And so we look forward to helping the state of Georgia and saving our children.
All right. Well, we appreciate what you're doing, Sheila, and we're going to push to get action behind getting something that's like this passed, getting what your request passed. It just makes sense to do it. Just imagine if they had drugged Elon Musk up as a kid. It's okay to be different. You know, everybody doesn't have to mature at the same rate. All kids have different ways and paths and things that they deal with. And it's up for that parent to ultimately decide what and when and how. But the answer is just not putting the kids on drugs and leaving them on this medication or something like that at all, or some cases and forever. Just doesn't make any sense. So tell everybody how to follow you, Sheila. We've got 2 minutes left in this segment, so we want to make sure people can follow you and support your organization.
Sure. Thank you. So basically, we have a petition on our homepage on ablechild.org, and it's on the drop-down menu. And that is to get federal hearings on the link between psychiatric drugs and mass violence, like what occurred in Georgia. And so we look forward to getting some signatures. It's free to do. You could donate to our organization, but we are a free organization and we don't really push that. We love the funding, but we are looking. If you say you're a member of Able Child, you're a member of Able Child because you believe in our mission. So join as a member. Tell your school, I'm a member of Able Child and I'm not drugging my kid. So you need to help me here with some other alternative. So we're a free organization. Sign our petition. We have a great event coming up in West Palm Beach. We're going to be turning 25 Able Child. So that is on there. It's ablechild25.com. You can find out about all the speakers, and they're really heavy hitters, these speakers. We have Laura Logan coming, and she's a award-winning journalist. We have
10 seconds. Go ahead, 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. That's it. Just go read about it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And we definitely will have you back. This has been great having you today.
Thank you for your service. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks. All right, guys, we got to support organizations like Able Child. Make sure you go to ablechild.org, follow them, ask questions, get involved. What she's doing is a good thing. All right, coming up next, this is the first time we've had a guest host, and we're going to start doing this in the third segment. We've got a good affiliate of the show. He does the weather, so you guys stick around. And I'll see you on the next one. But hang around. We've got a good friend of the show coming up next. And his name is Joey Pisani. He'll be doing the weather. This won't be the last time because we need guys like this anytime the weather gets extreme.
Hey guys, Rich Geary here from Geary Farms. Here at Geary Farms, we believe in raising our beef the right way, naturally and sustainably. Our cattle roam freely on nutrition-rich pastures, enjoying a diet that's as pure as the land that they graze on. We treat our animals with care and respect, ensuring they live stress-free lives. It's our commitment to quality and transparency from our farm to your table. Thanks.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to safewayhost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to safewayhost.store today. That's safewayhost.store.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to make a contribution, the link is in the description.
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joseph Pisani closing out this session of War Room. Thank you so much, Antonio Jones, for letting me be on the show today. I'm so glad to be on here with you guys. We're going to be talking, so if you don't know me, and maybe I'm a new face here, but I'm actually a meteorologist here in Georgia, personal friend of Antonio, so wanted to kind of come on, talk with you guys about what a crazy winter it's been and what we're going to be looking forward to as we go here into the spring. Be sure to follow me. My handle's right there. On Twitter, you can follow me there, X at ExtremeWX Videos. You can also go to our website, extremeweathervideos.com, and get connected with not only myself, but actually my entire team here. We've got multiple team members here in Georgia. So let's kind of get right into it. So it has been beautiful. Hopefully you guys have been able to get out there and enjoy some of this great weather that we've had this week. So I actually set up the fire pit last night and was able to have a fire, grill out over the fire pit. Absolutely loving this weather compared to the brutal cold that we've had earlier this winter. But it does look like things are going to be taking a change here as we get into next week. So don't put those winter coats away quite yet, because we are expecting another cold plunge as we get into the beginning of next week. So let's kind of take a look at really what we're looking at here as we go through the next couple of days into the weekend and then into next week. So this is from the National Weather Service here in Atlanta, Georgia. So as we can see, we've been really, really warm the last couple days, and we're going to only get warmer as we finish out this week. We're actually going to get some record high temperatures are possible Thursday and Friday, with temperatures in the mid to possibly even upper 70s across the Atlanta area. We could easily get into parts of the 80s if you live in South Georgia. Some of those places could be getting some of those record temperatures, and overnight temperatures are going to be absolutely beautiful as well. Temperatures in the 50s to 60s. So again, these next couple days, get out there and enjoy it, because this weekend, as you can see here by this image, the rain is going to be moving in Friday afternoon and then lasting through early Sunday morning. We're actually going to have a couple different cold fronts that are going to be moving through the area. So we'll see a couple different rounds of rain throughout the weekend. It won't be an all-day rain, quite like what we saw this past Sunday, where, I mean, it was just raining for hours from, 5 o'clock in the morning till into the afternoon. So we'll have a couple different rounds of rain, especially Friday into Saturday. I think it will be fairly light. I think Saturday will be the bigger day where we'll have some more of those heavier thunderstorms. There's even the chance that parts of Georgia, mainly I think central and south Georgia, actually have the threat of potentially seeing some of those stronger to potentially severe thunderstorms. Not out of the question. Stay connected with me and my Twitter account and Facebook page for updates as we get into this weekend. But we are really starting to be making that transition from the winter season into the spring season. So this is where we have those big temperature fluctuations like what we're going to be seeing. And when we're talking big temperature fluctuations, I mean, look at this again. So from Friday evening, a low temperature of 63 degrees. By Monday overnight into Tuesday morning, Monday night into Tuesday morning, we're going to be down into the 20s. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, another hard freeze. So if you're like me and you've got your plants that you put back outside thinking, oh, we're done with the frozen weather, you're going to need to be prepared to bring those back indoors as we get into the beginning of next week. because take a look at this. So this is our temperature forecast here for the southeast region. And when we're looking at weather specifically here in Georgia, I've lived here in Georgia now for almost 17 years, since 2009. So I've kind of been here a while. So when we're looking at weather, we have to look off to our west to kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. And really, as we kind of play this through here, what you'll notice is, again, like I said, we're going to have really nice temperatures across much of the southeast. So if you're traveling, maybe going down to the beach this weekend, might be really, really nice down there. Beach weather in, Panama City or something like that. But once we get through this weekend, you'll see those temperatures will start to, the warmer temperatures will actually be held south, because there's going to be a cold front that will be set up pretty much from east to west between Atlanta, Georgia and Macon, Georgia. So the further north you are, the cooler it's going to be. And believe it or not, there is the potential, as especially we get into Sunday morning, there will still be some precipitation as that cold front's moving through. And up in the far northeast Georgia mountains, there's the chance they could see some snow flurries potentially on Sunday morning, with temperatures right around that freezing mark. Obviously, here further south, any remaining rain will just be rain. But once that rain moves out Sunday, probably early morning, maybe 9, 10 a.m. is kind of what I'm thinking. That cold air is going to really kind of hold in. So Sunday afternoon, we'll only be in the 40s up around Atlanta and in the 50s down in central and south Georgia on Sunday. Then Monday, we're going to see that big surge of cold air spill in from the north on Monday morning. So we can see temperatures getting down into the 30s, upper 20s. And then as we continue on, this is getting all the way down to central Georgia. So again, a big hard freeze expected Monday morning, with temperatures down into the mid to upper 20s, lower 20s the further north that you go. So winter's not quite done yet. I wouldn't throw the groundhog out. I know that it's saying 6 more weeks of winter, but we do have at least one more cold shot of air here coming as we get into the beginning of next week. So again, hang on to those winter coats. Know where they're at, because you're going to need them when you start the next work week, especially taking the kids to school or headed out to work. If you got to be like me and you got to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, that's about when it's the coldest, is right around 7 a.m. So it is definitely going to be cold. The other thing is that I want to make you guys aware of is February here in Georgia. Typically we'll have a severe weather awareness week, because February into March, if you've lived here again for a while, those are some of our peak severe weather months here in the state of Georgia, when we typically have the highest number of severe storms, tornadoes, hail, damaging winds. And that's why I was talking about earlier, is that as we go into this weekend, mainly for central and south Georgia, where it will be warmer, there could be a little bit more instability. You've probably, if you've been outside today, you've seen all that cloud cover that we've had today. That's because all that warm, moist air is coming in over the Gulf, and that's helping to keep our temperatures elevated through these next couple days before the cold front sets up and moves in from the west. So let me kind of show this to you here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about with the cold front that's going to be moving in here. So here is our big weather maker that we're going to be seeing this weekend. So it's out here right now in Texas. There is our center of low pressure system, and this is going to be moving off to the east northeast, and we'll start seeing some scattered to light precipitation here in Georgia. We might see a little bit tomorrow afternoon and evening, but it really will be this weekend. By Friday is when we'll start to see those couple different rounds of rain move in. So we'll actually have 2 different systems that will move through. One will move through on Friday, and then the second will move through Saturday into Sunday morning. And then it should all be cleared out by Sunday morning. The sun will come back out Sunday afternoon, but then those temperatures will drop down. And you can see, obviously, right now, it's pretty clear, just a little bit of scattered rain showers here up in Tennessee into parts of Virginia. But here in Georgia, we're just pretty much overcast, having that moisture move in. The reason it hasn't been raining at all, and it just is very overcast, is because what actually happens, here's a little weather 101 for you, is there can sometimes be a dry layer of air that forms, a mile or two above our heads. Similar, if you've watched any of my other podcasts and live videos on our YouTube channel, I kind of talk about this. And it's a great resource for people that are wanting to learn about the weather. And just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/extreme weather videos. But basically, the reason it's overcast and we don't actually get rain to fall from the sky, dry air, basically any precipitation that is coming through those clouds, it just evaporates and nothing actually reaches the surface. So nice warm layer of dry air up there, keeping us dry down here at the surface, but keeping that cloud cover in place with all that moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. But that is definitely not the case off to the north. Believe it or not, if I've got a brother, he lives up in Minnesota, and they are dealing with quite the snowstorm and blizzard out here in parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota again, and then that snow continuing off to the east. So I think here in Georgia, other than maybe a little small sliver of a chance seeing some snow Sunday morning way up in the mountains, and even then it's probably just going to be some snow flurries, nothing major or impactful up there. I do think, at least for the rest of this month and the beginning of next month, our snow chances are looking low. And the reason I say that is we look at some long range forecasts. So this is the Climate Prediction Center. They put out a temperature and a precipitation forecast. So as meteorologists, this is something that we look at, that we will use to see, okay, what's the trends looking like in the next 6 to 10 days or the next 2 weeks. So this is really the next 6 to 10 days. So this is pretty much from next Tuesday, the 24th, all the way through the 28th. So pretty much closing out the month, right? And we can see here, we're still slightly above average temperatures. We're going to have that cold shot of air this weekend, but then by next week, things will warm back up. It won't last very long. And then as we go into the beginning of March, again, that reinforcing warm air here across much of the southeast could see some pretty decent above average temperatures here as we go from February into March. And that's why I'm saying I don't think that we'll really have another snowstorm. I think 3 weekends in a row of Georgia seeing snow this year, from literally down south all the way up here through the Atlanta metro area, 3 weekends in a row. That is definitely pretty memorable. And not only that, but we also got 2 years in a row, back-to-back years, where we had snowfall. And for the 17 years I've lived here, I honestly can't remember a time where we had back-to-back years where we had accumulating and significant snowfall. So really 2024, 2025 into 2026, really these last couple of years have really been quite a doozy, in all honesty, for much of the South as far as the snowfall goes. So that's kind of a look at that. The precipitation outlook, and this app that I'm using, let me tell you about this. This is called WeatherWise. You can download it. You can go to weatherwise.app on your mobile device, app store. I highly recommend downloading this. A friend of mine and his team have kind of built this out, so I always like plugging them as well. But this is a great app. It's got, all the radar on it that you need, the different outlooks, everything. If you're a weather nerd like me, you will absolutely love it. But one other thing that we like to look at is our precipitation outlook. This is great, especially as we're transitioning seasons, to know, if you're going to be planting grass or putting some plants out and things like that. You kind of want to know what the precipitation outlook is, because some things you need a good bit of precipitation. You don't want it to be drier than average. But really the next 6 to 10 days, you can see the drier than average conditions really mostly stay to our south. Here in the gray, that's kind of average conditions. And then where we get into the green color, that's where we have above average precipitation that is expected. So above average precipitation expected to our north as we close out the month. And then the beginning of March, maybe a little slightly bit of above average precipitation across far northern Georgia. And then Once we get into mid-March, that's where we could see a little bit of a drier spell, especially across the southern half of the state. So that can be a little bit concerning because, again, typically March is a fairly rainy season, rainy month for us here in Georgia. So we'll have to keep an eye on that trend because it does look like as we're transitioning from a La Nina into possibly an El Nino, that could allow us to go from exasperate some of the drought that we've had. And it is definitely been there. Let me see here. So here's the drought outlook, right? This is the drought monitor, again, from the Climate Prediction Center. So you can see most of Georgia, especially southern Georgia, is in extreme drought. So it has been a very overall, other than the snow we've had, it's been a very dry winter for most of Georgia. So you can see from Macon all the way down is in either severe or extreme drought. Up here in Atlanta area, the eastern side along I-20, that's where some of our worst drought conditions have been, out towards Athens. Those areas are in that extreme drought, but the western suburbs and northern suburbs are just in moderate drought. But still, drought is drought. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more precipitation than we're currently thinking, because we definitely need it here in Georgia, and really a lot of the southeast has been facing drought. So this rain that we've gotten this past weekend, the rain that we're going to be getting this coming weekend, although it may ruin your weekend plans, if you had outdoor plans, it is definitely something that we need here desperately in Georgia because of how dry it's been. So hopefully it'll help, especially with farmers and stuff like that down in central and southern Georgia, getting some of that much needed rain. So that is kind of what we're looking at here as we go through the next, really the next 5 days. And then I'm going to show you guys some things that I use to really get an idea. I don't like to do this too much, but as a meteorologist, it's helpful to see some long-range patterns and be able to look at some long-range forecasts. And this is something that I've also been trying to bring awareness to people about when it comes to meteorology and weather information, right? You want to make sure that you are using credible weather sources. There's been a big problem, especially since AI's come out in the last couple of years, where there are a lot of AI-generated Facebook pages, YouTube channels, and that put out these erroneous weather forecasts, weather graphics. They're basically clickbait farms to get you to like that content or share it out on your social media pages. So do yourself a favor before you share that or see that. Look into that page or that group to see what their background, what their reputation is. And you can always refer to, credible meteorologists. Here in Georgia, myself, obviously, they're the ones from Fox 5. I actually have a friend that I graduated with, Alex Forbes. He's over at Fox 5. I follow his page. Glenn Burns, obviously, he's retired, but a great source for weather here in Georgia. So make sure that when you're consuming online weather content, whether that be video, articles, social media pages, stuff like that, definitely do some research and make sure that you're following reliable and credible sources before you subscribe to that or share that content. All right, let me get back over here to some of our long range weather here. And I'm going to zoom out. This is another website that I use. It's called Pivotal Weather. Absolutely phenomenal if you want to be able to see. And they do have a free plan as well. So I'm using the paid plan. But this allows us to just really be able to see, temperatures for a long range. So when we're looking at these, we can see where the cold air is, where it's going. We can see, that, even as we get toward the end of the month, there could be another spell here. This is the 25th, February 25th, where we could be seeing another big shot of cold air. So that's why I'm saying don't put away those winter coats quite yet, because I think February could have a cold end to it. And then this is March, and maybe another quick cold shot of air. This is on March 1st, So we typically in Georgia, believe it or not, we can have our last freeze as late as end of March, sometimes even the beginning of April. So winter is definitely not quite over yet. So we'll definitely need to keep an eye on that. Enjoy the warm weather when we get it, but what we're having right now is definitely, we're actually 15 to 20 degrees above average of what we typically are for this time of year. So these 60s and 70s that we're having right now, definitely not the norm for us, but we're going to go from one extreme to the other as we go through. And then this is getting into, that first week of March here, showing some, again, really cold air. So, winter is definitely not over here when we're looking at some of these temperature outlooks and stuff like that. And then this is the precipitation outlook. So this kind of just shows us, this is one of the computer models that we use. You'll hear a lot when you're watching the news. You'll hear a lot about the European and the American model. Those are two of the main models. But believe it or not, there's actually 20 different models, more than 20 actually, different models that we can use. So this is just one of those models. But again, as a forecaster, we like to look at the long range trends, see when different systems are coming in. But the further that we go out in time, the further, the lower the accuracy is, right, with that model. But it just gives us a good idea, especially as far as like precipitation trends and different things like that, seeing, when we may have a front moving through Georgia, when it's going to be dry, different things like that, right? So this is prime case scenario here that I'm talking about. So this is, you'll probably see this here on social media soon, I'm sure. This is March 3rd, right? So this is like 2 weeks away. You could start seeing people posting, oh, we're going to have a huge snowstorm in Georgia on March 3rd. I saw it. But the probability of this actually happening right now, considering how far away that is, like 2 weeks away, we take this with a grain of salt. Now, what this tells me is that there's going to be some kind of precipitation possibly in around March 3rd, right? So that's kind of when I'm looking at these long-range computer models, and when we as meteorologists are doing that, that's what it's for. It's really to help us get an idea of where the different systems are setting up. Is there the potential for severe weather? Is there potential for just overcast weather, winter weather? All of those different types of things. So if you're interested in getting to connect with me, again, visit our website, extremeweathervideos.com. You can also follow me on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, this is my page right here. You just type in Joe Pisani, EWV. And this is my Facebook page. You can follow me. I post on this page mainly just content for Georgia and the Atlanta area, and our Extreme Weather Videos Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/extremeweathervideos. That is more of my national page. So that's kind of the difference between the two pages. So if you see two different pages and you're like, wait a minute, what's one and what's the other? That is what those two different pages are for. We're also on Discord. If you want to connect with a great community of like-minded folks, check us out there as well. Just go to Discord. .com and look up Extreme Weather Videos. We'd be happy to have you join our community, our growing community on there. And great to be again here on the show with Antonio, getting to be on War Room. Really appreciate him and everything that he's doing. Bringing awareness to the people, I think, is great, and giving them a voice. So definitely glad that he was able to bring me on the show today. And this is a look at what we're looking at here for the next couple of days. Kind of close out with this so you kind of know what we're expecting here the next few days. So we can see here, this was today. I mean, pretty nice day, right? Temperatures in the 60s, low 70s. Precipitation mainly stayed off to the north, really low precipitation chances, and it will pretty much stay that way throughout the day tomorrow. And then as we get into tomorrow, that's where we're going to start seeing those rain chances really start to build up as we get closer to this weekend, right? So tomorrow will be a little bit lower temperatures, mid 60s is what it's looking like. And then we could see a little bit more rain, especially across far northern and northwestern Georgia. Maybe seeing a good bit of rain up there. And then here around the Atlanta metro area, still a 60 to 80% chance of seeing some rain. And again, tomorrow, whatever rain we get tomorrow will probably be fairly light. I don't think we'll have a bunch of downpours like we did on Sunday. That'll probably really be more into this weekend. And then lower precipitation chances the further out that you go. So have that umbrella handy. If you need to adjust your weekend plans, this is your heads up. It's going to be another rainy weekend here in Georgia for you. But again, hopefully the rain will move in, the rain will move out, and then you got to plan for the cold as we get into next week, because we've been enjoying this. My body's like, oh man, I could get used to this, but we're going back to temperatures in the 20s in the morning and in the 40s and 50s in the afternoon, probably closer to the 50 degree mark is what I would say. So definitely make sure that you've got a plan in place. Make sure that, remember, there's the four P's that I like seeing. You got to protect people, you got to protect plants, pets, and your pipes. So make sure you have a plan in place for that as we get into this hard freeze in the beginning of next week with, again, temperatures in the 20s. Going to need to drip those faucets overnight, Monday night into Tuesday morning. And then again, possibly Tuesday night into Wednesday morning as well. So hopefully we'll get through this winter. I am definitely looking forward to spring, getting back into storm chasing here this spring. So thank you again for allowing me to be here with you today. And definitely be sure to follow us on those social media pages. If you've got any questions, you can always send me a direct message as well. Very responsive to folks reaching out to me. I love getting to educate, working in schools, stuff like that, getting to train that next generation, getting them excited about getting to be in meteorology and stuff like that. But thank you again, Tony, for doing what you're doing here in War Room. Absolutely great. Love seeing it. Love watching your show. But that is going to wrap it up for me here. So we will hopefully be back on here with Tony in the future, making more regular appearances. But again, follow us on our website, extremeweathervideos.com. We love having you guys. And check us out on YouTube as well. Do a lot of live streams on there anytime severe weather or winter weather is breaking. Thanks so much for having me on. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Greetings, Georgia Patriots. We are pleased to announce that we have a brand new website just for you. On our website, which you can get to at warroomga.com, has several different links, so let's go through a few of them. One of the most important ones is the news link. So you can find news that's local to the state of Georgia, and you can find national news. But the great thing about our state news is you can find information by some of the great Substack writers all on one page. And it's all in sequential order, so whomever has written the last or the latest article, you'll see it right there in order. As far as the national news, we aggregated quite a few Patriot national news organizations so that you can find that information right there on one page. So say if you're having your coffee for the morning and you just want to click and see what's going on and find out what the buzz is and what you want to share for the day and or read, it's all right there on one page. So we're trying to make this thing as convenient as we can so that we can get the information out. Another great link on the website is our videos link. If we're broadcasting live, of course you can catch us on all the major social media platforms. That's X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can just come to War Room GA and click on live broadcast, or you can click on our video section and you can see any of the previous lives that we've done. Or if we're currently live, you'll see us live right there on the website. Here's another one. We have a events tab. You can get your event hosted and published and posted on our website. And if it's a paid event, we definitely can beat the prices of Eventbrite and give you a similar professional experience and service for your patrons, which will save them money as well as you. Don't forget to support our show. We have a contribution link. We will also be opening up a store link where you can buy things and support the show that way. We appreciate any support that we can get. This is crowdsourced and crowdfunded, and this is for all of us. This is for you, the patriots of Georgia, and the people in this great nation of the United States of America.